session pretty much says designing your career your way. And Yandisa, I'm going to leave the floor open to you. I don't want to go too deep into it because I know you have a lot. And I always say this, ladies, if you have questions, go ahead and bamboozle her with all the questions as much as possible. So put on your questions, on the chat. I'm going to be asking those questions as well as, asking the questions that we have curated from the Telegram community. So, Yandisa, you have the floor. Go ahead and kick it off.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. That was so beautiful. Thank you. I feel so blushed and flushed. That was so sweet. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, beautiful people. So I'm Yandisa. I'm a software engineer, a Wentors ambassador, a design head, and also someone who's learned that sometimes the hard way that we don't find fulfilling careers. We designed them. So I want to invite you to think about your career as not a ladder that you climb, but as something that you get to architect. So, a story time from me. My path has not been linear. I strongly believe it doesn't need to be for you to enjoy it. And my first job in software actually felt like a dream start, as much as there was a strong back end focus. I'll go into that later on. But I was meeting deadlines and I was enjoying the work and it was challenging. And the future, the team, the company, everything felt promising. But under the surface, I was actually struggling a little. I had ticked so many of the boxes that I wanted to, and it still felt like something was missing. So one day I asked myself, what if I approached my career like I approach software? Like we don't ship the first idea, first we design, we gather data, and we iterate. So, what happens if we apply those very same principles to building a career that actually fits you and me? So, in this Wentors Ask Me Anything session, it's titled Design Your Career Your Way, the Architecture of a Career You Love. Let's step into the agenda quickly. Today, I want to share what happens when you treat your career like less of a ladder and more like a design project. So adaptable, intentional, uniquely yours. I am a believer of a career that fits you and not the other way around. So, as I said, you would gather your requirements, you would architect, iterate, deploy, and scale. Right? Right. Let's begin. So, as we start, I have some ponder questions for us to think about. But first thing I'd like to mention, or rather impress, is that energy is a better compass than excellence. Rather ask what energizes you, even when it is difficult, and what secretly drains you, even though you're excellent at it. So in software, we write user stories to guide what we build. You start with, as a user, I want so that. And that should really inform what matters to you. Your values are your user stories. They also tell you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. If I value freedom, but I'm trapped in a rigid role that is really just misalignment, I find that when I'm clear on my values, I can build a career that actually supports the kind of life I'd like to lead and not just the title that I think I want or should want. That's where the alignment lives. So, another little story time. I have been behind a computer since I was about 6 years old, maybe younger. And back then, I used to draw and design on Microsoft Paint, maybe 98 or 95, I'm not sure. But I was certain that I would become a computer programmer one day. I didn't, though, go straight down that route. I was curious and ended up studying architecture for a year. That is mainly because design and creativity have always called out to me. But I did leave that path and I took something with me, and that was perspective, precision, and detail. So when I started my diploma in ICT and later my BTech in software development, it didn't really feel like something completely new to me. It felt like a return. It felt like I had come home. So that's how I learned that fulfillment isn't really about the fastest route. It's about knowing what feels like belonging and having the courage to go straight for it. So that's why I say sometimes your requirements gathering means some detours, but still, the data that you collect in that path, it does matter, it is valid, and every step tells you something about yourself and what matters to you. So once I had understood my values, I realized something really important. We're taught, like I said, to think of our careers as ladders, but maybe our paths are kind of more like a jungle gym or a garden, anything really. But I feel like the career ladder approach is just one type of architecture, it's not the only one. And I used to feel guilty for actually enjoying design work back then when I was working in more back end roles. And I worried sometimes that it meant I wasn't as technical as my peers or technical enough. But I found that when I leaned into it, I did find joy. And to my surprise, I became even more valuable to my team. So I say all of that to say it doesn't have to make sense to others, it just has to make sense to you. So when you architect your own structure, it's not about it looking the same as everyone else's. We don't owe this world conformity. It really is perfectly fine for it to look different. And in my case, even when I was fully immersed in code, I never stopped being drawn to design. It is where my creative self really feels alive and breathes. But I did used to question it. The more I embrace my design interests and that be in UI decisions and team presentations, the more it felt like a flow. So I really impressed that there's no rule that you can't be both technical and creative. You can architect the path to include all the different parts of you and all this blends of skills that you have because that is where your strength lies. And you really don't have to fit in one box. Please build a unique path that works for you. And as long as it works for you, that's the move. So, just like in product design, we don't ship the final product first or the final version first. We start with a prototype. So, that is a small test, and we learn from that. Your career kind of works the same way. You try things out, you test, and then you reflect. And you iterate in that cycle until you reach alignment, of which it's not also an end path. There is always somewhere to learn and something to grow into. And each time we do this, we really test a new version of ourselves. Another story time. So, one of my first subjects that I really enjoyed in my BTech studies was software engineering and design. I really lit up in that subject because the whole process felt so nourishing and enriching to me, from ideating to mapping to building to presenting. I realized that it wasn't just the tech, it was the rhythm of the work, from moving from a completely blank state to a finished product that I could share. And it also taught me something so important, that enjoying the process matters. Wherever you feel you enjoy something, tap into that, dig deeper into that. That is where you grow more easily. And if it's something that you don't happen to enjoy, that's also valid. That's also completely okay. You don't have to force yourself to enjoy it. Just ask about what makes it feel wrong to you and just understand from your own perspective what it is that would make it maybe feel more right. Your way of processing and enjoying whatever path or whatever interests you have, that is where your career compass lies. So, what is it about user-centered design? We design products, great products, by centering the user. And in this case, in your career, the user is you. People will have opinions like family, society, LinkedIn, but only you live your life. So ask yourself, what does a good day at work feel like? What do I want to grow into? What can I let go of? When I think about moments that gave me that spark, it's always when I'm connecting with people and ideas, designing, talking, sharing. And for a long time, I had the thought that I need to have a label for this. It needs to go in perfectly with my title for what I loved, but it's fine for it to just be a feeling. So, purpose unfolds over time, I've heard. Your job may be just to follow the joy, follow the spark until that purpose becomes clear. And then we move into deploying and scaling. So there is no perfect moment, just really the next move. So one could ask, when is a good time to launch? When is a good time to go to product? I think when you really feel ready and 100% ready or even sure, that may never happen. And it's actually perfectly fine because it's a sign, and there are signs alongside that that may show you that it's still time to do it anyway. What is a great way to like kind of pinpoint it is that when you've learned enough and you move on to the next step and it feels like you can do that, that could be a sign to deploy. Or growth, that could be your sign as well to deploy. And when it doesn't feel like dread, when it's just perfectionism holding you back and not practicality, that is also a good sign to be in it. Press deploy. So, in the face of it all, I say do the scary thing, whether that's applying for a new role, sending an email to put yourself out there, or starting an idea or venture that you have been thinking about. Don't wait to be perfect. I think we're all a continuous deployment, never a final product. So I received some beautiful and thoughtful questions. Thank you so much, by the way, for putting those through, and for Dorothy and everyone for letting those come through to me. I hope I can answer them well, and I hope I can answer them all. Maybe we can also take in some from the chat. I'm sure we've got some I can't see at the moment, but I am excited. I'm ready. Shall we start with the Q&A session? Is my network down? Hi, Dora.
Hi, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Okay,
now.
my apologies. I was kicked out, but I'm back. Okay, yes,
Okay.
we're in the questions and answer section, and I probably would just go ahead and start with the first one. And again, thank you so much, Yandisa, for tying, that message together, designing your career your way and sort of bringing up a very creative way by infusing software engineering, which is your field. And I absolutely do love it, honestly. Thank you so much for that. And so some of these questions, or pretty much all of the questions, are questions that we gathered from the community. And I'll start with the first one. How can someone differentiate between what they're good at, what they enjoy, and what actually fulfills them long term?
I love that question so much. So I read something just to start off with that sounded very poetic, very profound. And at the same time, it kind of holds a very deeper meaning to me now and, later on in my career path. So that statement or that quote was, fulfillment lives at the intersection between impact and your identity. So, for instance, you may be good at a certain thing, be it analysis or anything, data entry, whatever it may be, design. And at the same time, you may also enjoy public speaking, but feel most aligned or fulfilled when you are mentoring others. The main thing I think is to pay attention to how you feel after you do something. So, does it leave you feeling drained? Does it have you feeling energized after? I think that is the place where you really should press into. Um, yeah, I think long term, it'll also kind of expose to you what is going to sustain you in your career.
That's great. That's great. Because again, for some of us, especially women, we sort of do not know, how to distinguish between what I love to do, what I'm so good at, and then what is just enjoyable. And probably, identifying and just categorizing all of this into different aspects sort of allows you to know, okay, this is where my passion lies, this is where work lies, and again, it gives a good direction for us. And thank you so much, Fumilola. I'm seeing your question, but I'm just going to go ahead and ask the next question, and then I'll jump into the question that Fumi has. I'm going to go with this. Can you share an example of a career prototype that you tested, a role or project that you tried out before fully committing?
Yes, I have examples of this. I mean, I mentioned having studied architecture. That's one example of the prototyping I did. But it was the design and creativity aspect of it that always called to me. I was curious, so I went ahead and I enrolled. I gave the course my best shot, tested, found that it wasn't the path for me. And at the time, it was confusing, but now looking back, it taught me a lot. And I took many lessons from that experience. So adding skills to your arsenal from past experiences is never a mistake. It's never a loss. Just making sure that you are trying the things that you are curious about, I think, is the main thing. If you want to have a more recent example, so I went and shadowed a front end engineer when I realized that back end development wasn't necessarily where I wanted to be. And it informed my decision to pivot into that arena. So that's what helped me understand that design and product thinking is what lights me up and it's leading me to where I am now. So, yeah, again, I think really just investigating and going ahead with what you're curious about, never being fearful of what will happen if it doesn't succeed. It is always something that is a success if you had something to learn from it, I believe.
That's a great response because what I picked from what you said is what lights you up. If it doesn't
Mm,
light you up, it's a thumbs down, honestly.
mm,
So
mm.
I would say I'm gonna grab onto that, and maybe every other woman in this call can or should grab onto that. If it doesn't light you up, step back and then go again, investigate, and then when you feel like this is where I'm comfortable, this is a place that challenges me, then yes, absolutely go for it, put on the energy and excel. All right. And now to the next question, which is the question that was posed by Fumi. She says, what happens when what you used to love to do no longer sparks joy, but you don't want to derail from your chosen career field? That's a
That
great
is
question.
That's a great question. I was going to say the same. It's a beautiful question. And I really believe it's valid. I understand it well. I had this experience too before transitioning into front end. I think it's really key to, like we said just now, find the elements that spark your joy for one, and see if you can't leverage those in another career, or if you don't want to step outside of your career, pivot yourself in a way that you can use the things that you love, the things that bring you that joy, and use them in a career that's more aligned with what you want to do and what you feel excites you. So even, I don't know if it's something that's at your disposal, but just even the internet can help with, aligning you to a career or aligning you to a path in your current career that'll help you leverage the skills and the parts of it that you do enjoy. So if that means really going out and speaking to someone, that's also an option. But I think the internet can also really help with finding the actual key points that you can just plant yourself into. And there's no right path. That's the beautiful thing about the careers that we have, that they are so
That
flexible. You can really
absolutely,
make them what you
yeah.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, just like you mentioned, there is really, so again, it's all about investigating, trying to figure out, is this good for me? I know that. So funny enough, I was speaking to a mentor, a potential mentor, and she is a game developer. She has over, I think, 8, 10+ years of experience. And I wanted her to come and mentor women within our community. And she said, "Oh, I'm actually leaving the industry." I didn't ask why, but
Mm.
I almost feel as though she has identified that, this is not where I want to be any longer. She may have stayed on for, probably her desire, her joy, just like, she mentioned. The spark is no longer there. The light bulb is no longer lightening up, and I need to
Mm.
pivot to something else that gives me that joy. So for me,
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm probably just going to go on to the next question because we're pretty much having 4 minutes left. This question is from LJ. She says, "How do you find the balance between being creative and technical?" As a someone who also enjoys being more creative in my professional as well as my personal life, when it comes to time to having a task that requires me to be technical, I always struggle. Please help her, Yandisa.
Oh, hi, LJ. So that is also a really beautiful question. And I really, yeah, it resonates as well. I think when you have that balance you need to strike, it's often a situation that, or maybe not always, but it's even imposed by others and not necessarily what is. So maybe it's not that you have to be technical in the way that you expect. You can really just thrive as a more creative person. So sometimes it's like questioning whether that descriptor is so necessary to apply to yourself. So for one, that is just, yeah, sometimes we place these expectations or roles on ourselves to be a certain thing, and it doesn't have to be the case. But then I also want to say that if you find that in your life that creativity is where you flourish, where you thrive the most, I really believe that you can push yourself into those directions and not have to boost a side of you that doesn't bring you the joy and doesn't fulfill you in the way you'd like. So maybe it's still worth it to upskill in the ways that you feel you might lack, but it should never be a thing of doing something and forcing it. I think if it's something that doesn't bring you that joy, it's okay to focus on the things that do. And yeah, like I said, if you can really explore the creativity side more than the technical side, that's a win. But if it needs you to upskill, then surely, yeah, that could be an option, but always fill yourself or put yourself into those positions where you thrive the most, I believe.
Absolutely. That answers the question perfectly. Yeah, I feel like if you're in a place where, you're struggling, it may be disastrous, not just for you, but for everyone around you. You may just get home and you're just frustrated and you really don't know where to put on the anger. And yeah, pretty much. So I do agree with everything you mentioned. And again, it's all about the lightning bulb and just being in a place that allows you to grow mentally, emotionally, and in every other way possible. And so I'm just going to get the last question, one of the last questions from Vivian. She says, what do you do if you have a passion for public speaking, which I think I do, but you're a shy person, and not so confident about yourself? Tell us, Yandisa. Again, because Yandisa, you speak wonderfully well. So please tell us.
I love this question. You know, Vivian, like, girl, I relate. And also, I have a hack, a little hack. Um, I don't want to say practice makes perfect because that is so expected. Of course it does. But if you feel this passion that you have for public speaking and you want to tap into it, what about recording yourself, in your own privacy of your own room or wherever you are, doing whatever you love? So if you want to give a speech or if you want to record some kind of a video tutorial, whatever the case may be, I think it's worth it to explore it on your own first and really just get yourself comfortable with being in front of a camera at first and slowly, slowly make your way towards speaking in front of a small room of people or just a few people and just build and build and build from there on. But it's really such a beautiful thing. And the confidence part, I don't want to not address that part. I think the confidence part comes with putting yourself in positions where you have to push yourself to grow and take on that role. So in public speaking, it's okay. Like it's perfectly valid to be shy. I think like as you keep doing it, that confidence builds because you'll notice that you're growing in this arena, you're becoming even better as time goes. So I really think just keep it small at first. Keep like practicing and stretching that muscle. And yeah, I really encourage you. I record videos of myself a lot. It's, yeah, probably cringe, I don't know. But it helps me.
That is so great, Yandisa. So someone usually tells me, um, practice makes improvement, because
Mm,
he feels like when it's perfection, or when it's practice makes perfect. When it's perfection, you sort of what's the word? I'm trying to figure out what the word is. But I would say for everyone here, maybe we should change the narrative to practice makes improvement. And so for
yeah.
you who wants to go into the field of um, what's it called? You who wants to go into the field of public speaking, continuous improvement is the key, honestly. And if you can stick to being consistent, this is the only way that you will, for the most part, become successful in the field. And so we're out of time, but I just had two or three more questions. I wish I could ask that, but this is just a 30 minutes call. And I just want to say I do appreciate you, Yandisa, for always making out time to be with us. We're always committing yourself. Thank you so much. Yes, Vivian says thank you so much for this. Absolutely, Vivian. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for growing. Thank you for the questions. Thank you to LJ, to Fumilola. Thank you so much to everyone for joining on the call today. We're just so excited, that you are able to join up on this calls and just get, tips and tricks that could help you moving forward. That's the idea. That's the goal. And again, thank you, Yandisa. Teresa says, thank you so much for this. This was an amazing session. Yes, it was. I seconded, I concur. Thank you so much, Yandisa. You're such a blessing to our community. And we cannot wait to do this with you again. Honestly, I will definitely reach out to you as soon as possible, and please do be informed
Thank you
that we're
so
going to be
much.
having another AMA session next week, Friday. Go ahead and register. We're going to send out all the flyers, all the campaigns, so you can go ahead and register and get into what next week's topic will be. It's another ambassador for Wentors. So they always come with their A game, just like Andissa did. And so I'm so excited again. Thank you to everyone for joining and to Yandisa. Everyone, do have a lovely, lovely weekend. Enjoy yourself. Mwah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, my love.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Bye.